I found out my daughter changed her last name through a Facebook post. There she was, standing on stage in her navy blazer, smiling for the camera, holding a certificate that proudly read Lily Cartwright. Not Davis. Not mine. No warning. No conversation. Just a photo on the school's page, announcing to the world that the man who raised her, funded her private school tuition, sat front row at every recital, no longer existed in her life. I stared at the screen like someone had punched a hole through my chest. So I did the only thing I could. I emailed the school board, and I removed myself from her tuition account. If they wanted me gone, I'd show them what gone really looked like. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, let me thank you for your continuous support. If you love stories like this one, support us by subscribing to this channel and comment where you are watching us from. It will be great to hear from you. Now let's jump into the details of what happened. I wasn't the kind of father who missed birthdays. I knew the names of every one of her childhood dolls: Marley, Fuzzy, June, and that sad little one-eyed bear she named Captain Crumble. I made her lunches with sticky notes tucked inside. You got this. We're proud of you already. I drove her to school every morning until she got embarrassed by my playlist choices. Even then, she still let me park across the street so she could blow me a kiss before the door slammed shut. I never expected a medal for any of that, but I never expected to be forgotten either. Her name used to be our name. That Thursday night, I was sitting on the couch with a reheated plate of leftover lasagna and my laptop balanced on my knees. I wasn't expecting anything dramatic. The house was quiet. The dog had already curled into his usual den on the couch, and I was halfway through a YouTube documentary on ancient shipwrecks. Then I got a notification. An old co-worker from the insurance firm tagged me in a post. Congrats to the award recipients from Westwood Academy. I clicked it without much thought. Probably some local recognition, community service, academic stuff. That sort of thing. My eyes scanned the collage of photos, and then they froze. Center frame, my daughter, Lily. Her hair was pulled back into that tight bun she liked for formal events. She was standing on a small auditorium stage, wearing a navy blazer and holding up a certificate with both hands. Her smile stretched wide and confident, the way it used to when I was the one clapping the loudest in the front row. But it wasn't her smile that gutted me. It was the name. Lily Cartwright. Cartwright. Not Davis. Not mine. My fork clattered to the floor. I felt like I'd swallowed something heavy and sharp, like broken glass lodged just behind my ribs. I blinked hard, convinced I'd misread it. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe the school had made a mistake. But then I looked closer. The certificate said Excellence in Literature, Lily Cartwright. The caption below the photo tagged her stepfather and her mother. No mention of me. She stood there, smiling, holding a certificate that erased me. I hadn't even known she changed it. The photo had over 200 likes already. Her stepfather, Greg, commented, "So proud of our girl. Hard work pays off." I stared at the screen, reading those words over and over. Our girl. That man had been in her life for 5 years, tops. I was there from day one. I held her while she screamed through colic, stayed up 3 nights in a row when she had pneumonia, braided her hair badly before her kindergarten photos. And now, suddenly, I was no one. I didn't know what to do with my hands. They felt useless. I closed the laptop slowly, like shutting it would stop the photo from existing, but it was too late. The image was burned into my mind. I leaned forward, elbows on knees, breathing like someone had knocked the wind out of me. For a long time, I just sat there. Then, because I didn't know what else to do, I texted her. Me, saw the post. You changed your name? No response. I waited, staring at the phone. 10 minutes. 20. Still nothing. So I tried again. Me. Was there a reason you didn't tell me? Still nothing. The silence screamed louder than any answer could have. By midnight, I gave up and called her mother. Miranda answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with irritation. It's late, David. I saw the school post, I said. My voice cracked on the word school, and I hated how small I sounded. Her name. When did she change it? Miranda sighed, and I heard her shift the phone. Oh, that. Oh, that. I repeated, stunned. You didn't think I deserved to be part of that conversation? She wanted it. Greg's been a big part of her life, and she feels close to him. It's not that deep. Not that deep. I stood up, pacing now. She took his last name. That's not a haircut. That's identity. Don't make this about your ego, Miranda snapped. This isn't about you. That's the problem, I said quietly. It never is. There was a beat of silence on the line. I thought maybe she'd soften. Apologize, even. But instead, she exhaled and said, Look, she's almost 18. You can't control what she wants. I'm not trying to control her, I said, struggling to keep my voice level. I just thought, after everything, I mean, all the years, it would have meant something. My name. Me. Miranda didn't answer. Then the line went dead. She hung up on me. I stood in the kitchen for a long time, staring at the phone in my hand, the photo of Lily still glowing in my mind. I thought of her as a toddler, climbing onto my shoulders at the zoo, shrieking with joy every time a giraffe moved. I thought of her whispering, You're my hero, Daddy. The night I stayed up sewing a Halloween costume because the store ran out of the one she wanted. I thought of every moment she made me feel like I mattered. Now I was a footnote, an invisible man, and that's when something inside me shifted. It wasn't rage. Not at first. It was something colder, something sadder. I walked to my desk, pulled out the folder labeled Education Expenses, and logged into the tuition account. Every semester, I paid half of Lily's private school fees directly. Miranda covered the rest, or so she claimed. But the account was in my name. My bank routed the payments. My wallet took the hit. And my name apparently no longer belonged in her life. I hovered over the financial guarantor section. Click. Edit. Click. Remove card. I stared at the empty fields, feeling nothing and everything all at once. My thumb hovered over the mouse. I whispered aloud, just to the empty room. If I don't exist, then neither does this. Then I clicked save. And that was that. The tuition portal confirmed the update. An automated message said the school's finance office would be in touch. I didn't know how long I stood there afterward, just breathing in the stillness. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat back down on the couch and stared at the dark television screen, my own reflection looking back at me like a stranger. That night, I didn't sleep. Not really. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, counting the number of times she said my name in her childhood voice. I tried to remember the last time she'd said it at all. I couldn't. By morning, I still hadn't heard from her. But the silence? It said enough. I kept expecting her to call. Even after the silence stretched into a second day, then 3, I kept checking my phone like some pathetic habit I couldn't break. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she didn't know what to say. Maybe Miranda had twisted it all, and she was scared to reach out. I gave myself 1,000 excuses for her silence, each one more fragile than the last. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had become a shadow in her life. A name that no longer held weight. A parent of convenience. The one you forget to thank when you win something. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my coworkers, not my friends. I carried it around like a secret shame, like if I said it out loud, it would somehow become more real. But I couldn't keep it bottled forever. So I told my sister. We were sitting in her kitchen, the smell of burnt toast still lingering in the air while her twin boys clattered toy trucks against the tile floor. I hadn't planned on saying it, not really. But she asked how Lily was, and I froze. The words sat in my throat, sour and swollen. She changed her last name, I said finally. Laura blinked. What? To Cartwright, I added, quieter. Her stepdad's name. She stared at me, her expression hard to read. Wait, she changed it? Legally. I don't know if it's official, I admitted. But the school's already using it. She accepted some literature award, and I found out on Facebook. Oh my God, she whispered. David. I looked down at my coffee mug, fingers curling tight around the ceramic. I didn't even know. She didn't say a word. Laura reached across the table, resting her hand over mine. That's brutal. It's like I was edited out, I said. All those years. Every bedtime story. Every spelling test. Every time she got sick, and I stayed up all night holding her hand. And now I'm just gone. Her eyes welled up. That's not right. It's worse than that, I said, voice raw. It feels like betrayal. Laura squeezed my hand. You were a good dad, Dave. You are. Anyone who knows you knows that. I wanted to believe her. But her words felt like consolation after a funeral. Well-meaning. Kind. But useless. Later that night, I did something stupid. I drove by the school. It was Saturday, and the parking lot was nearly empty, just a janitor's truck near the entrance and a few leftover balloons tied to the gate from the award ceremony. I parked across the street and sat there, engine off, watching the building like it might give me answers. I remembered the last time I was on campus, parent night, junior year. Lily had asked me to come, even sent me a reminder text that morning. I'd worn a button-up shirt she once said made me look official, and I sat in each of her classrooms like a soldier reporting for duty. When her English teacher told me Lily had a gift with words, I nearly teared up. Afterward, we grabbed milkshakes and fries. She said I embarrassed her less than most dads. It felt like a win. Now, it felt like fiction. She'd stood on that same stage just days ago, and I hadn't even been invited. Had no idea it was happening. No program. No seat with my name taped to the back. Just silence. I was the ghost in the stands. The man who used to matter. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. For a split second, I thought maybe it was her. It wasn't. It was a payment reminder from the school's tuition office. I let out a bitter laugh. Of course, I'd already removed my payment information, but the school hadn't processed it yet. The automated system didn't know I'd decided to stop financing a future I was no longer welcome in. I called the school that Monday. I'd like to confirm the removal of my financial responsibility, I said to the receptionist. May I ask why? She said, clicking away on her keyboard. It's a personal matter, I said flatly. There was a pause. Then she asked, carefully, should we expect alternate arrangements from the family? That's not my concern anymore. Later that evening, Lily finally texted me. Lily, why did you cancel the tuition payments? No greeting. No explanation. Just anger. Me, why did you change your name and not tell me? There was a long pause before she responded. Lily, I didn't think it would matter this much. It's just a name. That broke me. Not because of what she said, but how casually she said it. Me, it wasn't just a name when I gave it to you. Lily, I didn't mean to hurt you. Me, you didn't even tell me. That's not a mistake, Lily. That's a choice. Lily, Mom said you'd react like this. Of course she did. Me, then maybe she knows me better than my own daughter. The dots blinked, then stopped. She never responded. That night, I drank 3 whiskeys and fell asleep on the couch with the TV still on. I dreamt I was standing on that stage beside her, watching her accept that award, but no one could see me. I was clapping, screaming her name, but it was like I wasn't there at all. The next day, my voicemail was full. 2 messages from Miranda, one from the school counselor, and one from Greg. Yes, Greg. I hadn't saved his number, but I recognized his smug voice instantly. Hey David, I think you're being a little childish here. Lily's going through a lot, and pulling financial support just makes it worse. This isn't about you, it's about her future. I'd appreciate it if you acted like the adult in the room. I replayed that voicemail 6 times. Acted like the adult? This from a man who slid in and built a family on a foundation someone else laid. Who enjoyed the perks of being dad when it was convenient, but never stayed up through the stomach flus or showed up to parent-teacher conferences when they weren't Instagram-worthy. I opened my notes app and typed, "You don't get to call me childish for stepping back from something you never invited me into. You wanted to be the father figure? Then be the provider. I'm done funding my own erasure." I never sent it, but I wanted to. I wanted to more than I've ever wanted anything. Instead, I sat on my porch with a cup of cold coffee and watched the sunset bleed into a sky that didn't care about fathers, names, or broken hearts. I thought about every sacrifice I'd made. Every birthday I spent stretching paychecks just so I could afford the gift she really wanted. Every time I bit my tongue when she chose Miranda's house over mine. Every time I smiled and said I was fine, even when I wasn't. I wasn't fine anymore. I was furious. And beneath the fury was something worse. Finality. It took me 3 days to write the email. Not because I didn't know what to say. No, that part was the easiest. The words had been pounding through my head like a second heartbeat ever since that voicemail from Greg. What made it hard was knowing that once I hit send, there'd be no turning back. It wouldn't be a conversation. It wouldn't be a dramatic phone call or a hallway shouting match. It would be permanent, quiet, final, just like they made me feel. The first draft was angry, too angry. I called out everyone by name, even the school principal, and laced it with venom I couldn't unsay. I read it back and imagined how it would be twisted. Look at him. Bitter. Petty. Overreacting because his daughter found someone else to call dad. So I deleted it. Started again. The second version was too soft. Careful. Apologetic. I sounded like someone asking for permission to be hurt. I read that one back and felt sick. I didn't want to be the kind of man who apologized for feeling abandoned. So I found a balance on the third try. I opened a blank email window and typed, slow and deliberate. I didn't want to leave room for misinterpretation. I didn't want rage to blur the point. I wanted the school to understand, in plain terms, that I was no longer a background character they could invoice every semester. 2. Principal, finance officer, school board admin. Subject, withdrawal of financial guarantor responsibility, Lily Davis. Dear Westwood Academy staff, I hope this message finds you well. I am writing to formally withdraw myself as a financial guarantor for Lily Davis, currently enrolled as Lily Cartwright, effective immediately. Please consider this email as notice that I will no longer be responsible for any future tuition payments or financial contributions associated with her enrollment at your institution. This decision comes after discovering, without prior knowledge or consultation, that Lily's name has been changed and is now listed under her stepfather's surname in school communications and public announcements. I was not made aware of this change, nor was I included in any related decisions, legal or symbolic. As someone who has consistently contributed to her education, financially, emotionally, and logistically, I find it deeply disheartening that my role has been so easily overwritten. I will not continue to fund an academic journey that no longer recognizes my presence in her life. Please update your records accordingly and direct all future financial inquiries to the student's mother, Miranda Cartwright, who I trust will arrange appropriate alternatives. Thank you for your attention and understanding. Sincerely, David M. Davis. When I finished, I just sat there, staring at the blinking cursor, the send button glowing blue like it was daring me to click it. And then I did. One click. A whisper of emotion. And yet, it felt like I'd moved a mountain. The silence that followed was immediate. No bounce back. No auto-response. Just the quiet hum of my laptop fan and the sudden stillness in the room. I leaned back in my chair and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for 3 years. It wasn't about money. Not really. I could have kept paying. I could have swallowed it, like I'd swallowed every other slight and unspoken dig over the years. But this wasn't just about tuition. This was about being told I didn't matter and finally choosing to believe it. Around dinner time, my phone buzzed again. Another text from Lily. Lily, you're really doing this? No hi. No explanation. No context. Just blame. Me. I already did. Lily, do you even care about my future? Me. I cared enough to pay for it when I was still included in it. Lily, this is so messed up. You're hurting me for no reason. That last one made my fingers tremble. No reason? Me. Changing your name and hiding it from me. That wasn't no reason. That was a choice. Now I'm making mine. Again, the dots blinked. Again, they stopped. I stared at her last message, reading it over and over, like maybe if I analyzed the subtext hard enough, I'd find some glimmer of the little girl who used to call me daddy. But all I saw was someone who wanted all the benefits of my presence without any of the burden of acknowledging it. Later that week, I got a call from the school's finance department. The woman was polite, maybe even a little sympathetic. We did receive your message, she said. Thank you for the clarity. Are you certain you'd like to proceed with removal? I am, I said. She has a new family now. I assume they can handle it. She hesitated, just for a second. We'll update the records. Just to clarify, should the remaining tuition not be covered, it may affect her eligibility for end-of-year participation. That's not my concern anymore, I said. She thanked me and hung up. I felt hollow, not victorious, not relieved, just empty, like I'd finally walked away from a house I'd been slowly evicted from over the years. One room at a time, until there was nothing left but an outline where my life used to fit. A few days after that, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in a while, Mr. Hanley, Lily's 6th grade math teacher. We crossed paths at the grocery store. He spotted me in the cereal aisle and waved me down with that wide, goofy grin he always wore. Mr. Davis, he said. Still rocking that flannel, I see. I managed a tired laugh. Some things never change. He looked around. Lily, not with you. I shook my head. Not these days. He frowned slightly. That's a shame. She used to talk about you all the time. Had that drawing on her binder of the two of you fishing. Remember that? I nodded slowly. I remembered. She drew it in crayon, stuck figure versions of us on a dock with a single fish leaping out of the water. She wrote, "Me and Dad, forever," in the corner. That was 3 lifetimes ago. She's grown up, I said, the words like ash in my mouth. He nodded. They always do. But hey, don't let her forget who helped her grow. That stuff matters. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. Some people forget anyway. He gave my shoulder a squeeze and said, "Yeah, but they remember when it counts." Trust me, I wanted to believe that. I really did. But belief was hard to come by these days. I used to think the worst thing that could happen between a parent and child was silence. I was wrong. It was the interpretation of that silence, the way other people twisted it, reframed it, whispered about it behind polite smiles. The way my absence suddenly became more noticeable than all the years I was showing up, early and uninvited, because that's what being a father meant to me. The first text came from Sharon, Lily's best friend's mom. "Hey David, just checking in. Saw something online. Hope you and Lily are okay." I didn't respond. I knew what she was fishing for. That message wasn't concern. It was curiosity wrapped in faux empathy. Sharon was a chronic Facebook poster, the type who uploaded 17 photos from a school fundraiser just to showcase how involved she was. She'd shared the awards ceremony post the day it went up, captioned it with something like, "So proud of all these amazing kids." But I noticed she had commented on Greg's photo of Lily too. He called her our daughter. Sharon replied with heart emojis and said, "She's lucky to have such a strong support system." Support system. Right. I didn't reply to Sharon's text, but I kept getting them. A few more trickled in from people I hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey man, are you still in Lily's life? Saw something about a tuition thing. Crazy if true. Hope she's okay." High school drama can be intense. High school drama. They made it sound like a teenage spat. Like Lily and I had argued about prom dresses or curfews, not identity and abandonment. Then the messages stopped coming, and the looks began. At the gym, I caught someone whispering behind the smoothie bar while staring at me. In the parking lot of the grocery store, a mom I used to chat with at school events barely made eye contact. Even my coworkers, most of them childless or divorced themselves, started to offer unsolicited advice. "You shouldn't let pride get in the way, man," one of them said. "Teenagers do dumb things," another chimed in. "You still gotta be the bigger person." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab them by the shoulders and shout, "Do you know what it's like to have your kid erase your name like it was a typo?" But I didn't. I just nodded, swallowed the bitterness, went back to my spreadsheets and contracts, and typed through clenched jaws. I was living 2 lives now, the one where I was just David, the dependable guy at work, and the one where I was David, the absentee father, in the court of public opinion. It didn't stop there. One evening, I got a call from the school counselor. Her voice was gentle, almost patronizing. "Mr. Davis, I just wanted to reach out. Lily's been a bit emotionally affected by recent changes. We thought perhaps a mediated conversation might be helpful." I raised an eyebrow. Mediated? Yes, just a space where both parties can feel heard. Sometimes, in high-stress situations, it helps to bring everyone back to common ground. "She changed her name behind my back," I said, "and I found out in a public Facebook post. What's the common ground there?" The counselor hesitated. "I understand this is difficult, but for Lily, it's important to feel like both of her families support her. She already made it clear which one she wants." "I'm just trying to help," she said, sounding suddenly exhausted. "Then tell her stepfather to cover her tuition. I've stepped back from something I was never invited to in the first place." That ended the call. 2 days later, Greg emailed me. Yes, emailed me. He wrote in that annoyingly professional tone he always used, the kind that reeked of corporate posturing. Subject, Lily's educational future. "David, I understand you're upset, and I'm not here to argue. But this situation is affecting Lily more than you may realize. While I respect your decision to step back financially, I urge you to reconsider what message this sends to her. Regardless of the name she uses, she still needs your support. We may not always agree, but we both care about her future. Let's not make this harder than it already is. Greg. No, dear. No warmth. Just a cold, passive-aggressive appeal to do what's right. I stared at that email for a long time. Thought about replying. Thought about burning every bridge with a single sentence. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I forwarded it to Laura, my sister. She called me 10 minutes later. That smug piece of, she cut herself off. I'm sorry, but who the hell does he think he is? I think he thinks he's her dad now, I said flatly. No, David, he plays dad. You are her dad. There's a difference. One you paid for. One you showed up for. One you sacrificed your damn sanity for. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. The lump in my throat was too thick. You're not wrong for stepping back, she continued. I would have lost it way sooner. You kept showing up long after they stopped appreciating it. Doesn't feel like anyone sees it that way. Screw what people think. They weren't there at 3 in the morning when you were cleaning puke out of her hair. They didn't see you working weekends just to afford that school. You don't owe anyone an explanation. I exhaled. Thank you. You want me to post something? She asked. I'll do it. I'll drag them all. That made me laugh for the first time in weeks. No. Let them talk. If they're talking, at least I still exist. But that was the truth I wasn't ready to admit. Not yet. I didn't care about public opinion. I didn't care if the other parents thought I was heartless. I didn't care if Greg wrote 1,000 passive-aggressive emails or if the school counselor wanted to play peacemaker. What I cared about was this. My daughter looked out at a room full of strangers with a name that wasn't mine and smiled like I'd never been there. That's what I couldn't shake. That smile. The same one she used to give me when she ran across the soccer field after a game, arms outstretched, shouting Dad. Now she saved that smile for someone else. It was a rainy Tuesday when I got the call. The school's front office left a message. The administration had requested an in-person meeting. Just to clarify next steps, the woman said, her voice neutral, but I heard the implication behind it. They wanted to smooth things over. Or, more accurately, contain the situation. I almost didn't go. What was the point? They'd made it clear I was no longer part of the narrative. But some part of me, maybe the sliver of hope that still remembered drawing unicorns with Lily at the kitchen table, wanted closure. Or at least the chance to say, face to face, I'm still here, even if you pretend I'm not. I wore a button-down shirt and clean jeans. Not for them, for me. I didn't want to walk into that school looking like the broken version of myself I'd been living with for weeks. I wanted to walk in as the father I had been. The man who used to be at every parent-teacher night. The man who signed every field trip form. The man who carried the weight, quietly. I arrived 15 minutes early and sat in the lobby. The receptionist didn't recognize me. That stung more than it should have. She asked if I had an appointment, like I was some stranger coming to tour the school. I gave her my name, my full name, and her eyes flicked to the computer screen. Oh, Mr. Davis. One moment, please. I waited under the fluorescent lights, my fingers tapping a nervous rhythm on the armrest of the chair. Photos of smiling students lined the walls. One of them featured Lily, mid-laugh, holding up a science award. Underneath it, her name was printed in bold, glossy letters. Lily Cartwright. I'd never seen that version of her name printed in such permanence before. It looked wrong. Artificial. Like someone had spliced her image into someone else's family album. The principal eventually came out, Mr. Ralston. We'd met before, years ago, when Lily was a freshman. He shook my hand, smiled politely, but his eyes had that wary glint I recognized too well. This guy's a problem now. Thank you for coming in, he said as he led me down the hall. We just wanted to touch base about the transition in financial coverage and Lily's eligibility for end-of-year activities. Of course, I said. I imagine that's why everyone wants to talk to me these days. He didn't respond. We entered a small conference room where the school counselor, Miss Felder, was already waiting. She gestured to a seat, her smile tight and professional. I appreciate you coming, she said. We know things have been sensitive lately. I'm sure, I said. Let me guess. You want me to reinstate tuition payments so she doesn't miss prom or graduation. There was a pause. Well, the principal said carefully, We just want to ensure she has the support she needs during this important time. I leaned forward slightly, resting my elbows on the table. Tell me something, Mr. Ralston. In all of your communications with Lily this year, awards, announcements, programs, how often have you used the name Davis? He looked momentarily uncomfortable. Our records reflect the most recent name we were provided. By who? I asked. The parent on file. So not the parent paying the tuition, I said flatly. Just the one who filled out a form. Neither of them answered. I exhaled and sat back. You're not going to guilt me into reopening my wallet. I gave everything I had to that girl. Years. Sacrifices. And not once did I ask for recognition. But now that I've said no, suddenly everyone remembers I exist. The counselor leaned in, her voice soft. We understand this is emotional. But names don't always mean rejection. Sometimes they're about identity. Belonging. I met her gaze. You're right. A name is about identity. That's why it hurts. Because she chose to erase the one tied to every childhood memory she has. And no one thought I deserved a phone call. She looked away. I stood up slowly. If Lily wants to talk to me, she knows where I am. Until then, I'm done being the silent investor in someone else's family portrait. They didn't stop me. On the way out, I passed the janitor, Mr. Reyes. I hadn't seen him in years, but he recognized me immediately. Mr. Davis? He said, surprised. You're back. Just a meeting, I said. Won't be long. He wiped his hands on a towel and smiled faintly. I remember when Lily was in 6th grade. You used to sit out front every day waiting in that old Honda. She'd come running. Always happy to see you. I swallowed hard. Yeah, those were good days. She used to talk about you to the other kids, he said. Said her dad was the best because he knew how to make grilled cheese without burning it. I laughed unexpectedly. That was our Saturday tradition. Mr. Reyes nodded. She loved you. Kids don't fake that. Not back then, maybe. He hesitated, then said quietly, they get older. Things change. But trust me, they remember who stood in the rain for them, even if they pretend they don't. I nodded, throat tight. Thanks. That brief moment, just a janitor and a father in a hallway, meant more to me than the entire meeting with the administration. It was the first time anyone had acknowledged what I'd done, what I'd lost, what I still carried. I walked back to my car through the light drizzle, every step soaked in bittersweet memory. I remembered holding Lily's backpack on this very path when it was too heavy for her. I remembered tying her shoes here once, right on the curb, because she didn't want to go inside with laces undone. I remembered being dad. Now I was a guest on a campus I used to know by heart. And as I pulled out of the parking lot, I told myself the same thing I'd been whispering for weeks. If they want to forget me, then I'll teach them how. I didn't go to her graduation. The invitation never came. No email, no card, not even one of those generic senior announcements with a photo and a class of 2025 printed in fancy script. I knew the date only because I Googled it. I even found the live stream link for the ceremony. Westwood Academy was broadcasting it online. I watched the beginning, just to see her name scroll across the screen when the students were introduced. Lily Cartwright. They said it with pride. And she smiled. I closed the tab. That weekend, I packed a duffel bag and drove up to a cabin 2 hours north, a little fishing spot my brother and I used to visit before life pulled us in separate directions. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just turned off my phone and let the world spin without me. The lake was still. Quiet. The kind of quiet that hums in your ears after too much noise. I stood on the dock with a beer in one hand and a rod in the other, casting into still water, and thought about how everything can change while you're standing still. How families aren't broken by one big betrayal, but by the slow erosion of what used to be love. A name change. A missed call. 100 tiny choices that stack up until you realize you've been phased out of your own story. And yet, there I was. Breathing. Healing. Not angry anymore, just done. I didn't expect to hear from her. After everything, I figured silence was our new language. But the day after I got home, I found something waiting in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a simple, white envelope. Handwritten. No decoration. No pretense. I opened it with the same caution I'd used to open an old wound. Inside was a card. No front image. Just a note written in her handwriting. still half cursive, half print, the way she always wrote when she was in a hurry. I kept all the drawings you gave me, even the one where you spelled Daddy wrong. I was 4. You were tired. You still stayed up with me all night because I had a fever. I remember that. That was it. No apology. No love, Lily. Just memory. And I didn't need more than that. I sat on the porch with that card resting on my knee for almost an hour. I didn't cry. Not this time. But I felt something soften. Not enough to go back. Not enough to reopen the door. But enough to understand that maybe, in the corners of her mind I couldn't see anymore, I still lived there. Maybe not as Dad in bold letters, but as the man who showed up, even when no one was looking. I didn't respond. Some things are better left unsaid. But I took the card, slipped it between the pages of an old photo album I hadn't touched in years, and closed it gently, like setting down a story you finally finished. Sometimes, closure isn't dramatic. Sometimes it's just the quiet realization that you don't need to chase what already left. Sometimes it's saying, that chapter is over. I don't hate you. But I won't turn back the page, either. Final reflection. I don't regret pulling the tuition. I don't regret the email, the confrontation, the decision to stop funding a story that no longer had room for me. I regret what we lost. But I don't regret protecting what was left of me. She chose her name. I chose my peace. And sometimes, that's the only kind of reconciliation you ever get. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you love just to protect your own heart? This story isn't about revenge, it's about recognition. Sometimes, standing up for yourself means letting go of who you were to someone else. If you've ever been quietly erased by someone who once called you family, share your story in the comments. You're not alone, and your side deserves to be heard.